2024 Food Fight Cast is back.
We're back,
First
baby.
pay-per-view of the year. UFC 297 in Toronto, Canada. Was a bit of a mid card, if you want to describe it as that, but crescendo quite nicely in the main event of Dricus du Plessis as the challenger taking on Sean Strickland in the middleweight division, defending his belt for the first time. How are you, Frank? Good to see you this year.
Good, man. Yeah, I was so pumped for the first pay-per-view of the year. Blew my sleeves off. So I was just, just so excited, man.
Yeah.
No, it was all right. Like you said, it was a bit mid. It was a bit mid, but happy to have him back.
Tell you what, it was a bit of a mid card, but we mixed it up quite nicely. I think going to the College Lawn Hotel, which is nestled in the back streets of Prahran. There, it's got a really nice beer garden. Quite a large venue when you look at the whole scale of the inside versus the out, and got ahead of things and booked us a table for two the other day, which in the description I was like, best seat in front of the big screen for UFC 297, and I think all in all they did a pretty good job. They reinstalled my faith in Melbourne sporting venues for fight sports, which you can often be in a tug of war with other events that are on, but all in all, I think they did pretty well.
Yeah, I think moving forward, like the plan for this whole thing was to, give people a bit of a heads up on where the best places to go around here and where we go. And, food and the entertainment side of the fight game is kind of a fun thing that we want to be doing. So hopefully this happens more. We go to places and we're happy with experiences and things like that. And I think, for the first big card of the year, you and I get back together and getting out there and giving it a crack. Yeah, I think it was a success.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, they were pretty organised all in all. They switched over from the prelims over to main event quite quickly. Sound was loud. Crowd wasn't too busy. Everyone seemed to be there for all the fights, which was nice for the most part. And the food was okay. I mean, we started off with the chicken ribs, as they called them, which effectively were chicken wings. They were not on the level of chicken wings, so I'm glad they weren't actually called chicken wings because they were a bit rubbery and kind of whatever. No blue cheese sauce, just a bit of mayonnaise. But they ticked the box as a starter. Yeah. No,
like we said at the time, there's nothing to write home about there. They were like a sort of a microwaved half-assed chicken wing. So
yeah, for sure. But I suppose the menu at least gave you your classics. You had your schnitzel there, you had your parmigiana, you had your chicken burger, and then there was a bit of salads. Quite a I guess boastful from the grills selection, with the steaks being upwards of $40.
Yeah,
I decided to go for the poor man's steak and went for a bit of a steak sandwich with someone's boot cut up in the middle and mashed between a couple of pieces of sourdough with the fried egg. I haven't had a steak sandwich in years, and to be honest, it reminded me why I haven't had a steak sandwich in years. It's not something I order often. It was okay. The chips were quite nice, bit of seasoning on there, and I was pretty hungry, so I wasn't going to be mad at it, but it was nothing to write home about either.
Yeah, no, when it came out, it looked pretty sad. So, I mean, I'm not going to beat you up too hard on that one, but
I saw two boys get it after me, and I shook my head at them.
Yeah, it's their funeral. Yeah, my one was good. My one was good as far as the chicken salad goes. It was a bit of a quinoa pumpkin thing. We'll throw the images up as well, but food was all right. It was more the experience, I reckon. I feel like we didn't hang around too long. We weren't too upset. We had, probably a couple of the best seats in the house. So
yeah, that parking fine on the way out was fun too. But anyway, we'll leave that off. But no, look, straight into it, man. It was an interesting fight. Like going into this, the common theme was that Dricus du Plessis doesn't have much of a gas tank, hasn't been 5 rounds. We're going to get towards the championship rounds and Sean's probably going to take over. Sean's got great cardio. He'll be there, and he'll be able to take over the fight. What I think was in the back of everyone's mind was that these two guys have such awkward styles. It's just going to make for an awkward fight.
Yeah,
I was thinking that it would be one-sided one way or the other. I wasn't really thinking that we'd get to round 5 and be scratching our heads going, who's going to win this? Who wants it more? I got to give credit where credit's due. I think Dricus really showed a lot of heart and desire in that fight. He turned up really believing in himself, and every round he came out like a bat out of hell. Like tried to use his strength, tried to be the one that was more active, mixed in the takedowns quite nicely, and put Sean on his back a couple of times. A part of me felt that Sean maybe did enough to win, and the strike breakdown and the verdict scorecard kind of said that. But I also was kind of like, this is anyone's fight. It's a split. It's probably going to be a split decision. It can go either way.
Yeah, well, I mean, like you saying 3-2 Strickland, I wasn't sure if it was 3-2 Strickland. I kind of edged it to Dricus just purely on forward activity because I thought that the numbers were pretty close and it looked like they were. And then Dana comes out and says, I had it 2-2 going into the fifth and Strickland won the fifth. So, neither of us had it 2-2 going into the fifth, I don't think. So it was one of those fights where it was like, okay, there's a definite one at the start. There's a definite one at the end, and there's a bunch of gray area in the middle. And however, whether you were paying attention to the TV screen at any given moment, you'd probably score it a different way, So I don't know if there's really any way that you can say left or right. It's just one of those ways the chips fell. But I actually don't think, like you said, I think the outcome of the fight was probably not what we expected, where it was kind of a rock'em sock'em, decision fest, where it was like no one was really going to get the better of each other. Yeah. So I think in that sense, it was good to kind of see both of them put that on display, and that the line was right. It was much more or less a coin toss.
Yeah, there were a couple of moments where you had Dricus's eye, which was looking like it was shutting pretty badly, and we were wondering if the doctors were kind of step in and have a look at that at some point. Yeah, I think they did a good job of observing the fact that he was actually fighting just fine, and they didn't need to really bring him in. And testament to, I guess, the cutmen kind of bringing that swelling down as best as possible in between rounds. There was a point, I think it was in round 3, in the second half of round 3, or maybe it was round 4, early part. It was around that between 3 and 4 where it looked like Dricus landed a big right hand and it cut Sean Strickland. I don't really think it was that, because there was a scrambled right after that shot. And Dricus was either clinching or he managed to get a bit of a takedown and Sean got back up. Yep. Sean's eye was suddenly, just exploded, just really, really started bleeding heavily. His face was starting to wear a lot more of the damage, and the optics were looking like Sean was now the guy that was taking the damage in those last couple of rounds there. So I think that really, really put an idea in the judge's mind of who was doing the damage in those later rounds, even though I think everyone would agree that Sean took over in round 5 and won that round. I guess the common scoring would have been that 2, 3, and 4 went to Dricus, and he really won the middle of the fight.
Yeah, no, that's how I had it. I had it first and last for Sean, and then 3 in the middle for Dricus. But like you said, those verdict scorecards, they were so close. Like they were razor close. Like there was 0.02 of a scorecard between each one of them, so they could have gone either way.
Yeah, it's one of those fights where, and like, everyone loves to talk about damage these days, because damage has now been written into the rule book as the overarching scoring criteria. Like you look at that first and then you kind of start to move on from there. But this was one of those fights where you had Sean really landing a lot of jabs, which put that strike count up so high. The differential was quite high at the end. And, people on verdict might have been looking at that a lot more. On paper at the end of the fight, you kind of start to look at Sean's output and what he's landing. But if you go actually round by round and you score it, there are just more moments that favor Dricus, whether it's a bit of a takedown and control, or whether it's longer combinations where he's like throwing his high kicks and just showing that he's more active in the fight and really pushing forward. So I kind of walked away from this fight going, so many people put weighting more into different categories, whether it's damage, whether it's that's a significant strike versus that's not, whether it's the takedown. It was one of those fights where there was just so much happening in it. It's just so much up for debate about what you weighted into scoring the round.
Yeah, I think like we spoke about it beforehand, the fight that Sean had before this, and then going into Dricus, you're going against one of the most technical strikers that's ever been in MMA. And then go into a guy that's basically a meme of how weird he fights. It's like, okay, well, Sean was met with, it was awkward v awkward, like we said. And I think Sean does really well against people that don't out awkward him. He walks forward, he puts the pressure on him. How is he going to act against someone that does the exact same thing, where they just walk forward and they just put the pressure on him? Sean was on the back foot a lot of the fight, like there wasn't a lot of Sean implementing his usual game plan where he's like, I've got this person in the palm of my hand and I'm Philly shelling my way out of everything and they're getting frustrated. It just wasn't the case, man. Like, I think that was definitely a factor going into this where it was like, are we just going to see someone who's such a weird matchup for Sean that he's just going to edge it? And it seemed to be that's the way that it went.
Start to look at styles make fights. You know, we had Sean really turn up and beat the brakes off Izzy. Now got Dricus kind of taking the fight to Sean and edging him in a close fight. And now we've got Dricus getting on the microphone and calling out Izzy, saying they've got unfinished business. Now, how does that fight play out? How do we see a new and improved Izzy getting back to the gym off the back of the loss to Strickland? You know, is he just going to walk through DDP? I mean, how can you say that at this point? Like, we were there, you know, with our hearts in our stomachs, kind of when he beat Robert Whittaker, and everyone wanted to say, oh, you know, Robert had a bad night, Whittaker had a bad night, you know, Dricus caught Robert on a bad night. But how the hell can we keep saying that at this point when he's 21-2 overall and he just hasn't lost in the UFC? And for the most part, it hasn't really looked like he's almost lost or been in trouble or been rocked. Like, he's won pretty convincingly in every fight. I mean, this was a close fight, but I'm sure there's a camp that score it 3-2 every day of the week.
Yeah. And I mean, when you say looked close to losing a fight, like, if being tired it was an issue, it hasn't seemed that it's been an issue in the last couple of fights, especially the last one that's gone for 25 minutes. If there was ever going to be a cardio issue, it would be against someone like Sean Strickland in a 5-round fight, you know, like someone who's going to push the pace on you. Dude, he was throwing head kicks and fucking shooting double legs. And like, if he's ever going to get gassed, like, this would have been you would have seen it. And I think that he kind of passed that test. So I think we might be able to throw that out for the moment. But as far as beating Izzy, like, dude, I'm not writing him off ever. Like, I can't write him off. The guys just beat Whittaker and then Sean pretty convincingly. Like,
yeah. I think we need to find out his plastic surgeon, because whatever they did with his nose seems to giving him a new wind, and he just seems to not be struggling with the gas tank at all and all that. So you know, we start looking forward. I mean, everyone's itching to know what the final state of UFC 300 will be. I think Dricus is not the kind of guy that wants to rush into another camp. There is almost just enough time when we start to look at maybe 3 months down the track, being April. Does he recover? Does that eye kind of come down in a couple of weeks and he goes straight back into the gym? Yeah. Or does he want to, you know, parade around South Africa with the belt, take his time, build his brand a bit more, and look at getting his own card, you know, with Izzy?
We spoke about it directly after the event. There are all those elements that you're saying, which any other situation, I would agree. I'd think, you know, take some time. You hold all the chips, man. You literally hold the chip. Like, you call the shots. Izzy will fight you when you're ready to fight him. Having said that, fighting on the biggest card of all time, headlining it while you're the guy with the belt, dude, it's a multi-million-dollar payday for him. It's for a guy who hasn't been earning that kind of money. Like, money talks, man. And I reckon, you know, if Izzy is keen and it's propositioned to him, I reckon that he'd be down.
He's going to make the biggest payday of his career if he can just get on that card. He's got the belt. He'll get the points. He doesn't have to be anywhere. He could be early fight prelims if he wanted to be, and he'll clean up. So I think he'll get himself together. There maybe is a part of him that says, the sooner I can get Izzy, the better as well. Like, how much is Izzy really back into this? Yeah. I mean, look, you got Dana up there in the press conference as well, talking about doing a UFC South Africa, which is kind of like as close as they'll get to Africa as a first step. It's a window into that, or it's a stepping stone into doing UFC Africa as well. And you've got a guy from South Africa, guy's Nigerian born, so I guess maybe that's in the works. It obviously takes two to tango here. Is Izzy ready? Is Eugene ready to kind of give the blessing? And is Dricus ready for 300? It's hard to say.
Yeah, Dana did sound really very keen about the Africa thing. So I think that might be something that he's been wanting to do for a while. Especially, you know, stick it to Francis a little bit. Be like, we're finally going to do UFC Africa.
Yeah, he'll give it some stupid name, Rumble in the Jungle or whatever, these two guys, all that. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, one thing I think we can take away from it as well. Someone did ask at the press conference, "Oh, would you put this on 300 main event?" And Dana pretty much shot it down straight away and said, "Oh, I'll have the main event for 300 for you guys in a couple of days or whatever." And the reporter followed up with, "Oh yeah, can you give us a hint?" And Dana said no, flat out.
Yeah,
Said no. I think what we can say though is it won't be a middleweight fight. It won't be in the middleweight division. And we look at who's available. We start to look at Leon Edwards is available. Alex Pereira is available. Tom Aspinall's available. There's a few people that are available. I mean, no one wants to see Bilal Leon. That seems to be at least the public perception.
It can't be it.
My point, though, is that fight hasn't even been announced, booked for another card. The chips are in play. Pereira's available. Aspinall's available. I guess, Miocic is there if they can drag him out of his bed at the fire station. But, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I reckon it's going to be one of the the suspects that have been going around. I can't imagine it's going to be someone like a Stipe or anything. So that guy needs 12 months notice to take a fight. So it's like, and he hasn't fought in whatever. We've been down that road, but yeah, I guess we'll see. I think I can't imagine the way that the UFC does things when it comes to timing. Like, it's no accident that they've waited until today finished to make the announcement of UFC 300 main event. Like, I can't imagine that they're not entertaining the idea of this possibly maybe being on that card. Like, otherwise they would have announced it already. They want to sell tickets as soon as they can so they can get the money in their pocket. That's how it works.
Whatever this bloody rabbit in a hat that has been rumored about, I hope it's good. But we'll find out in the coming days. I guess going back to 297, if we were to give some mentions to the rest of the main card here, Arnold Allen struggled. Movsar Evloev, just took over. He's now 19-0 straight. Real prospect to watch in that featherweight division. Wasn't really in trouble in that fight. Wasn't the most exciting fight, but we obviously see how talented that guy is. We go on from there. We've got Chris Curtis edging a decision in a very back and forth fight with Marc-Andre Barriot, which was one of those ones as well. Like, you could kind of score it either way. The way these guys just kind of leave it out there. Yeah. Mike Malott, absolute banana peel. I might actually pause here for this one, but Neil Magny, the perceived gatekeeper, he's getting his leg chewed up early on. Malott's obviously watched the Gary fight, and then round 3, he goes for a bit of a guillotine for takedown defense and seems to just like gas out, go for a leg lock, and then just gets TKO.
It didn't really seem like there was a gas issue until he hit his back, like where he hit the guillotine, and then as soon as he hit his back, it's like that extra little bit of bump that you need, or gas that's left in the tank to get yourself off your back and get this person off the top of you. He just didn't have it. And the more pressure that Magny was putting on him, it just seemed like he was drowning him. And, before you knew it, he wasn't putting up any type of a fight. I had no issue with the stoppage at all. Like, we were screaming at the telly going, dude, there's 20 seconds left on the thing. Like, you got to call this. Like, he's done, which does suck considering, Mike Malott's so confident, such a good dude, like prospect, still like he's still young and early, but to basically have it in the bag and then, like you said, banana peel it, it's upsetting. Yeah. At home.
Yeah, a bit of a deer in the headlights moment for him. Overall, the Canadians went 2-7, which kind of reminds me of that traumatic.
It happens a bit.
Adelaide card, Adelaide card where we went. I think UFC Adelaide, and a lot of our Aussies lost.
Yeah, I mean, it's something to remember moving forward, right? Like, these are human beings that want to put on good performances in front of their hometowns and stuff. So it is a factor that you need to do. Like, we talk about altitude, we talk about short notice. Being home in front of people that you want to see, like going into enemy territory, seems like it's an easier scenario to go into these days.
Co-main event, I almost fell asleep. I'll be honest.
What was the co-main event?
I couldn't tell you. I mean, Chael actually made a really good point in one of his videos earlier this week. He's like, if anyone could have told me this was a title fight, I wouldn't have known, because neither woman's really done a job to promote that this fight is even happening. I mean, Raquel, even when she won the belt, almost couldn't have been less excited to win the belt. It wasn't that exciting. I think this division hasn't had a real star behind it. You can, look, Nunes was a great fighter, but she was not very active in the media. No one really got much out of her. At least, I guess, in the outside of Brazil world, we didn't really get much. We've got Pena out there making noise. I suppose they do Pena Pennington. saying that sounds painful, but we'll see where that one lands.
Yeah, I like. I don't think there's really anywhere else you can go with it. And I think Pena, and this was supposed to be Pena and Pennington, but she got injured, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I believe she couldn't commit to this card. So I mean, look, we'll see when that sort of falls there. Yeah, but look, all in all, I think College Lawn Hotel did a good job putting on the fights. They're part of the Australian Venue Co. They've got a great app called I think it's the Pass. We got $10 free for signing up. You get points on every venue that you go to that is owned by the Australian Venue Co. And you can redeem those points. I think I've already redeemed points that I got from ordering whilst I was there into another $10. So look, we might stick with that for a bit. We might pick another venue under the Australian Venue Co. for, I believe the next pay-per-view is Volkanovski on the 18th against Tapuria. So looking forward to that. And one thing I'm not looking forward to is just that feeling before the prelims when they need to switch over to main event, and just that panic that I have to go through mentally. Do I get out of my chair? Do I need to speak to someone? Who should I speak to? Who's going to handle this? It just scares the shit out of me every time I'm at a venue. When you're at home, you're in control.
I thought you were going to talk about the stress of going through another Volk pay-per-view, man. But we've got plenty of time to talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah, plenty of time to talk about that, man. But look, it's good to be back. It's a good pay-per-view to start the year off, and looking forward to the next one.
That's it, man. I'll catch you in a couple of weeks.
See you, pal.
See you, brother.